Hey guys, what's going on, and welcome back to the channel. I'm glad you could make it back tonight. As I said last night, I promised you tonight was going to be teardown night. Now I have got just a little bit of a head start just because I did leave an hour early from work to see my wife before she went to the studio, and also to get some stuff tore down before it started getting too dark. What I've got done so far is I've got all my fuel lines off, valve covers off. I do have my fuel delivery tubes out of the way, and I have everything marked 1 through 6 so I can put all my parts corresponding here. This is the cart I was telling you about that I stole from her. I think it'll work out pretty good. I was going to buy a cart, and I went over to Harbor Freight because they had some on sale, and it was just pretty much junk. It was real flimsy and cheap, so I decided not to buy that. Anyway, all the other stuff I have out of the way is the throttle positioning sensor. Do not forget to unplug that on the bottom before you just go ripping that out of the way. There is a plug on the bottom of your throttle position sensor, and that is right here. You just push that over just like so and pull it out. Just like when I did my injectors, it's pretty much the same process. Fuel lines are out of the way, intake elbows out of the way. I have my fuel delivery tubes out. Next, I'm going to start on my rocker assembly, and basically you take these two bolts out here, and the whole rocker assembly, stands and all, will lift out of the way, and I'll put those over on the cart, and then I'll take my bridges off and keep my bridges with corresponding, because everything's wore, and I just want to keep everything together because everything has a wear pattern to it, and that way you can keep things together. Just when you take it apart, keep it together. Because of the wear pattern, you put it back the same way, everything's going to operate the same way. So I was going to get new bridges, but I just didn't have the extra right now after buying tires and wheels. I just didn't have the extra money, so I'm going to reuse my bridges. I'm going to reuse my rocker assembly. Pretty much everything when you take it apart is a 10 mil. These are all 10 mil to get all your brackets off. 13 mil for your throttle position sensor. 10 mil for your valve cover. My intake elbow is actually a 6 mil socket head, just because I have an aftermarket one up there. And then there's the bolts for the throttle position sensor. So pretty much, like I said, everything that you tear apart for your injectors is basically what you're going to do to tear apart for your valve springs also. Now you may ask yourself, why didn't I do this when I had my injectors out, or why didn't I do this when I did my injectors? Because it was already all apart. Well, that's a good question. I didn't have the springs at that point in time. So anyway, that's why I'm going back and redoing it. And if I did that, you guys wouldn't have nothing to watch. So like I said, it's just very, very time consuming on tearing everything apart. And I do have my engine set at top dead center. You do want to start with that also. I'm going to show you something kind of cool as far as making sure said cylinder is at top dead center. Have an idea for that, and then I'll show you what I'm thinking on that. So right now I want to go through and take the rest of my take my rocker assembly off, get started with that, and then go through and pull all my injector caps off and pull my injectors out. This time when I do it, you do have to pull both bolts out. The last time, when if you're just doing injectors, you just have to take this one out and pull, and the cap will slide out this way, and then you just pull your injector out, put your new one in, make sure your crush washers, all that stuff comes out. I do have to run to AutoZone also. Let me get that off this because it's making a bunch of noise. I do have to run to AutoZone also. They're the only ones who had a seal kit readily available. Every place else that I checked, I had to order it, and it was going to be next Thursday. Yes, I'm sorry. It was going to be this Thursday or next Monday, or this coming Monday before they could get it in. What I mean by seal kit is I'm going to go ahead. Now I know I just put all these O-rings on there, but I'm going to start all fresh again. I'm going to put new O-rings on the delivery tubes. I'm going to put new O-rings on the injectors and also new crush washers. The only reason I'm doing that is it's cheap insurance. It was like $23 for that seal kit, and like I said, it's cheap insurance. If you have it undone, you might as well put, or taken apart, you might as well put the new ones on there. Even though I just put them on probably not even 500 miles ago, I want to go through and put everything in new again. There's a new second gen in the neighborhood. I think it's a gas truck though, but I'd like to have the hood off this truck because it has a cowl hood on there. Anyway, going back, it's a 4-inch cowl hood, and I really would like to have one of those. Anyway, going back, it's like I said, it's cheap insurance to just go ahead and change them while you have everything apart. If you're pulling things out, you know, it is rubber on steel. You could possibly rip one of the O-rings. One of the crush washers, you could have had one tighter than you. Just cheap insurance. Just go ahead and change them out. You have it apart. It doesn't take that long. It doesn't cost that much money. Just go ahead and spring the $23 and get the thing coming and get it here and change it. Now, it is available on Amazon Prime. It is quite a bit more for that seal kit. I believe I can put a link in the description for you. I believe from them it was like $43, and I really don't know why it costs so much from Amazon Prime. So anyway, enough babbling, rambling. So let's get these rocker assemblies taken off, get the bridges taken off, caps off, injectors pulled out, and then we'll go through and start changing the valve springs. Alright, with almost everything out of the way, as you can see, the only thing I need to do is finish pulling my injectors out. But this kind of gives you an idea on how much actually needs tore down to be able to do this job. So like I said, everything's over here on my cart. I put the bridges with each rocker where they go, intake and exhaust. I have them all sitting there. Caps, delivery tubes, injectors will lay here. So, you know, I could actually move this over to here if I wanted to keep everything kind of in line. This is what I was talking about. That's why when you do injectors, you don't have to tear everything apart like this, and you don't have to loosen this one up. So this sits in here like this. This gets tightened down on top of your cylinder head, and then your cap slides in there like that, and then as this tightens down, it puts pressure on the top of the injector by going up against this cap on this back bolt here. That's what your back bolts on your injector caps look like, and that's why they're slotted. That's why you don't have to tear them apart, or that's why you don't have to take them off when you're doing injectors. You just take out your front one, slide your cap off, and you're good to go. I know I'm being very anal retentive when it comes to keeping everything in order on how it come apart, but that's just the way I like to do things. That's how I was taught to do it, and that's how I'll continue to do it. I was looking for my rag because I just took my gloves off and then I was handling that stuff. Anyway, I gotta grab one of my old intake bolts up there on the shelf and get the injectors pulled out, and then we can start changing out the valve springs. All right, I have all my injectors out. What I have here is I just basically, the little trick that I wanted to show you is I have a coat hanger, and I took a piece of tape and wrapped on there, and then like I said, I have my engine set at top dead center, And this this goes in 7s basically. So you can do 1 and 6, and then you can do 2 and 5, and then you can do 3 and 4. I mean, everything, if it adds up to 7 basically. So what I do, just to make sure it's at top dead center, is I take my little coat hanger and I set it right there. And that's down inside the injector where the nozzle goes. The injector hole right where the nozzle goes. And you can see that cylinder is at top dead center. The reason I wrap tape on it is so I can look and make sure that's right at the top of the injector hole. Now if I take it back here to cylinder number 2, see, that's down. That's why I also have a 90 bent in there, so it can't fall down inside the cylinder 2, because that would be a very bad day. So with that in there like that, I know that cylinder 1 is at top dead center, and then I can go back here and check cylinder 6, and cylinder 6 is at top dead center. So I can do 1 and 6 and then rotate the engine and do 3 and 4 or 2 and 5. That's just something I wanted to show you what I do as far as doing making sure my engine is at top dead center for said cylinder that you're going to be working on. Because when you compress your springs down and take your hats off and take your keepers out of there, your valves are going to lay on top of your piston until you get your new springs in, put your hats in, and then put your keepers in, and compress everything down, and you know, do the reverse operation or reverse process of putting it back together. So that's basically what I wanted to show you as far as my little gauge there. You can make that up, it's not a big deal. Just grab a coat hanger, cut it, and put a 90 in it, mark it, and you're good to go. It's just a little insurance to make sure that your cylinder is at top dead center, so your valves don't drop down inside your engine, because then you got to pull your head off. Yeah, you don't want that. So right now I'm gonna go grab my spring compressor and do cylinder 1 and do cylinder 6, and then that might be pretty much all for tonight, because it is getting dark and it's about 6:30 right now, 7 o'clock. I do need to go in and get some supper going too, so my son and I can eat. So right now let's get cylinder 1 at least done and show you how that is, and then we'll kind of go from there, see what kind of time we have. All right, just got back outside, went in and fed my son. He just wanted some wraps in a George Foreman, so that was easy enough, and he finished off some scalloped potatoes that we had in there, and I just threw some lunch meat down my throat and had to resort to drinking a Propel because I am out of Monster, but it is black cherry, so it tastes pretty good. Everything is out like I showed you before. Grab the valve springs over here. I'm gonna set those up probably right here, and we are going to start with cylinder 1. Now the reason why all this has to come apart is because this sits in here like so, and then each one and then it gets bolted into the injector location. That's why everything has to come apart. So you're going to need your 8mm steel, probably, I'm not certain, to thread all this stuff in there. And I forgot to pick up some ARP thread lube, so I'm going to be using anti-seize just to help lubricate this shaft a little bit. I got to get those tightened up. And then this sits down on there like this. And then you just tighten this nut down until it's all the way seated. Pull your keepers out, loosen everything up, and go from there. So I'm gonna go grab some tools and stuff, and we'll get this cylinder number 1 done. All right, I have the bottom portion tightened up. I'll thread my nut down. Make sure you have that centered on those hats, so when you start compressing it, the keepers and everything comes up and through. Bottomed out. You take your pick and a magnet. And then I got a little magnetic tray right here that I'm putting everything in. And you just loosen this up, take your press back off there. Just take your hats off. And pull your factory springs out. I set those over there on my tray. Now's a good time to inspect all of your valve seals, make sure everything's in good shape. Then your springs just go down in place. I'm reusing my factory hats. Make sure everything's good and straight so your valve stems can come up and through. Alright, after you have all your keepers in, sometimes it is necessary to grab your magnet and pull up on the valve stem a little bit to be able to get those to seat in place. Just take your wrench and start loosening it ever so slowly, allowing everything to come up into place, watching your keepers, make sure they stay in place. So that's basically all there is to it. I still have to remove this stem. All the springs are down and in place. Now I can move back to number 6 back there and do the same thing I did here. The reason that I'm doing this, I guess I really never said that. Let me go in the garage so you can see me. The reason that I'm doing this, the more horsepower that you turn and the boost that you build, your valves, your factory valves have a tendency to float if you're just running your factory. I think there's 60 or 70 pound springs. What I'm putting in is the Hamilton 103s, and it just allows for good valve seat when you start turning more horsepower. So that's why I am changing the valve springs to be able to go up even more in horsepower if I so choose. Where I'm sitting at now, I'm borderline, so I'm just gonna go ahead and change them out. Like I said, this is a set of Hamilton springs. They are out of Texas. I'll put a link in the description below for their website, and those are also available on Amazon. My compressor tool is available on Amazon. There'll be a link in the description for that. Anyway, that's pretty much why I'm doing it. I got a lot more work to do. I don't think I'm going to get any more done tonight. As you can see, I got the light set up there. That's my makeshift hood light that I have. It works just fine for me. Basically, what I did is got an end of a tarp strap there, a piece of chain and an end of a tarp strap, and just hook it up. So it works for me just fine. Instead of spending $100 on a hood light, that I can just use that. So anyway, guys, I think that's pretty much going to do it for tonight. Hit that like button, give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you have not already done so, and we should see you guys tomorrow. We'll talk to you guys later on. Bye-bye. Well, this is not good. I was trying to finish up cylinder number 6. That way I could get a little bit more done tonight, and I dropped one of these keepers down in one of the push rod holes. So not real sure what I'm going to do now. Can't turn the engine over and do anything until I get that out of there. Yeah. Anybody have any suggestions? I would appreciate a comment below. So once again, not everything goes according to plan. So a kind of mediocre job turned into a huge job. So probably have to pull the VP44, remove the tappet cover, and grab it that way, I'm hoping. So anyway, any comments, any suggestions, let me know.